to Book Your Success, the online show for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs, about entrepreneurs. This show spotlights authors who have books which provide information, innovation, and inspiration needed by successful entrepreneurs and business professionals. It includes a special focus on how authors use their book to market and build their brand. Let's join host and entrepreneur Anita Paul with today's guest.
Hello and welcome to Book Your Success. I am Anita Paul, the author's midwife with WriteYourLife.net. Welcome to the show once again. So glad you decided to join us. Want to let you know that we have a phenomenal sponsor for our show today, as always. We are happy to have the show sponsored by Visual Marketing Mentors. So for all of you folks out there who do trade shows, exhibits, conferences, conventions, you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward, and Visual Marketing Mentors can help you do that. You want to get in touch with Ann Keys Spencer. She is phenomenal for all of your signage, all of your visual needs at your exhibits. You want to give them a shout at visualmarketingmentors.com. And they will hook you up and make you look fantastic. So thanks again for joining us on Book Your Success today. I am very excited, as I always am, to have our guest on the show today because we are going to talk shop. I mean, like, we're going to really talk shop. So Kimberly Martin got her start in the whole book business quite by chance.
Yes.
Quite by chance, but it was quite an interesting start, and it let her know that the book business is where she needed to be. She actually partnered with her brother to open a library in her bedroom closet.
Yes.
I love that. Opened a library. I would have made it a bookstore because I'm like, you got to buy the books. But that was obviously her first introduction and the key to letting her know that I might be onto something here. So as an adult, she later ran a poetry website. And when her poets wanted to self-publish a collective book, she said, sure, why not? I'll do that. This is going to be so much fun. And wow, how easy is this going to be?
Not.
Well, what she decided to do from that experience was basically to maybe start her own publishing company. She started Jera Publishing and has since then, in the last 10 years, actually helped a multitude of authors publish some fantastic books. She consults with clients, she teaches classes, and she also hosts webinars to help aspiring authors become self-published. And we're excited to have Kimberly on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Love that you're here because we get to talk shop.
Yes.
So we overlap on a lot of the things that we do.
Yes.
It's always good to talk to someone else who's in the industry. Tell me kind of how you got the business off the ground and how you got started and who you serve.
Well, it started out, really the goal was, I started out with just an information website. Everything I learned about self-publishing by my bad experiences, learned how to do it the right way and posted an information site on it. And then I had some of the people come to me and says, that's great, but can you actually help me? So I said, sure, I can give this a try. And then over time, I have design background, so I started doing covers, I started doing interior design, and then I, got to the point eventually where I needed to hire help in order to continue it.
And why did you need to hire help? Because the publishing industry is booming,
right? It's gone
right?
huge. I mean, I started, over 10 years ago, before the Kindle was really out, before CreateSpace was off the ground, and over the years it has really just boomed. Authors are finally realizing, hey, I can do this, but they might need some help to do that.
Right.
And that's where I come in now.
Good. So tell us about the help that you offer them, the spectrum of
Certainly.
of
I do everything from what I call a lot of hand-holding, consulting, and walking them through, authors through the process. I have an editor on staff so we can take a first draft and get it, or proofreading. He does manuscript evaluations as well, point you in the right direction. We do book cover design, interior design, ebook conversions, as well as marketing assistance, and also just consulting is where I come in.
Good. So tell me, where'd you get the name for the company?
It's actually an old Nordic rune, Jera, that means basically if you work hard at something and strive towards something, you'll reap the benefits of rewards. So it means kind of a year or harvest.
Okay.
So when I was researching names, I just couldn't find anything. I came across this name. I'm like, this is perfect. I'm just starting out, and I know if I work hard,
I like
I will
that.
succeed. But it also plays into the authors. If you really work hard at it, if you get, what you want to get done, you will benefit down the road.
Right. So how do authors come to you? What do they have when they come to you? Is it just an idea? Do they have a complete manuscript?
Most of them have a complete manuscript, or at least their first draft. But it's really all across the board. We have people coming in where they've never done anything before. They have no idea what to do. They've read some stuff on the internet, but it's all conflicting. So they come to me and, what do I do?
Internet. It can be our best friend and our worst enemy.
So they've heard this from one person, this from the other, so I can help them from the start. But then we have some people who have been down this road a few times. They've got some parts of it done. They just need help maybe finishing it off. I need a cover.
Right.
Or I need some marketing material. So, all along the stages we can come in.
Okay. So what are some areas you find that people need the most help with?
Well, the one thing they need the most help with that they don't know is editing.
Yay! She said the right answer. No, I'm just kidding, but I agree.
Yeah,
I
and
think
a
you're
lot of
right.
people, and I really, if you're spending money anywhere, if you're on a tight budget, editing and the cover are the two places you really need to spend the most money on.
Why is that?
The editing, if you don't have something well written, who's going to want to read it? And the cover, that's like the first thing people see when they're up on the website. They're going to, on Amazon, what do they see? A cover.
Right.
And if it looks like a third grader drew it, what does that say about the book? So you're
Right.
competing. And so
Unless your target audience is third graders.
yes, that's true. That's true. So those are the two most important things you should be spending the money on, is those areas.
Yeah. So, okay, almost every client who comes to me tells me, I'm on a budget.
Yes.
And I just have to laugh because I don't really know too many people who are not on a budget.
Right.
So, what do you do when people say, I'm on a budget? How do I make this, cheap and quick and awesome?
Well, isn't there a saying somewhere, it's like you can have it fast, you can have it cheap, or you can have it good?
Yeah,
Pick
but you
two.
cannot. Yeah, you cannot have all three. Sorry.
So, do as much as you can on your own, but there are some things you really do need to get help with.
Okay.
And otherwise, it's really tough for people's first book because they haven't started getting any money back out of it yet. So I understand you're on a budget, but you find the people that skimp in the important areas,
Yeah.
they regret it later. So there are,
do.
there's some places you can cut some corners, but you really want to.
Yeah. What are some of the things you recommend authors can do for themselves?
Well, marketing. You can do grassroots marketing, get the website pretty cheaply or free. You just get, a WordPress
Right.
blog sometimes is free. You can do the social media on your own. You can, go and try to be speakers at events that are normally not going to charge you. You can do a lot of marketing on your own. Interior design's tricky. You might be able to pull something off, but a lot of times you're making mistakes you don't even know that you're making.
Well, I think a lot of people think they can just go on Word and do a Word document and, drop in some images.
I've seen books. I know how they're supposed to be formatted. I can do this, no
Right,
problem.
or I'll download a program or,
Yeah.
some software or something like that. And some of the software is reasonably okay, but is that really something that an author should do themselves?
If someone who's doing a simple novel, they could probably get away with doing it in Word on their own if they know some of the things to look out for. A lot of people don't know that a page number shouldn't be at the top of a chapter title page, or the header shouldn't be there, or when to indent, or blank pages shouldn't have page numbers on them. They are missing these little important steps.
Yeah, those details that readers will notice.
And don't use Comic Sans.
Oh!
And even Times New
Please
Roman
don't.
should not be used.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things they're just not aware of that they're doing wrong that they need to. So if you're going to do the book yourself, if you're like, I just got no money, I've got to do this myself, at least do some research and learn what it takes to design a book on your own and what's the wrong way.
Right. What's the right way and what's the wrong
Yeah.
way? How do you find most authors are using their books? What are they doing with them? Or is it just, I did it and I feel good?
I get some like that. Some people are like, this is just for me, this is just for family. Yes, I want it on Amazon. But a lot of business people, of course, I've heard it said that, a book is today's business card.
Right.
And it's almost requirement now that if you want to be known as a thought leader in your industry, you want to have an authoritative voice in your industry, that you have to have, I have a book. I am
Right.
and author of. How many times have you been watching like CNN interviewing somebody and at the
gosh.
bottom of
All
it
the
says
time.
and author of? If you've gone to someone's at a speaker or an event, what do they have at the back of the room? Hey, they've got books for sale.
Yeah.
So it really does lead some credibility to you if you have a book. So
huge opportunity to build
yeah, so
credibility.
entrepreneurs really do need to have a book out there. It doesn't have to be a war and peace.
Right.
Something short and sweet.
Well,
is
speaking of
good.
that.
Yes.
Speaking of that, I mean, we're in the, as I say, 140 character generation.
Yes.
Right? What's your take on the length of a book? People ask me this all the time. What's the right
for a business
length for
business book? I've seen from 100 around 150 pages is what I've seen to come across. I recently did like 3 books for somebody. You know, we got copies in the back, and I've stacked them on top of each other. They were all exactly the same length, 150 pages.
Yeah.
You know,
Why does that work well these days?
People are. This is the era of short blog posts, Twitters, Facebook posts. They want the information quick and easy,
Right.
bullet points broken out. You know, we don't have the attention span that we used to.
Yeah.
They want their information quick and easy.
So is there a particular approach that authors should take to writing those short books?
Well, I know what approach works for me. I mean, of course, everyone's going to have their own method that works for them. But I usually start out with, you know, what am I going to write about? It should be something you're very familiar with.
Right.
For me, I start with breaking it down by chapter, titling the chapters, and I go back and start creating create an outline first is how I do it. And then create the outline, and then go back and I create bullet points for each subheading, and then I go in and turn those bullet points into paragraphs.
Right.
And just kind of work backwards that way. And that's how I typically fill it out. But, you know, there's different methods, and whatever works for you.
And I think that's a great process in terms of outlining. A lot of people are very opposed to outlining, especially the novelists.
Well, a novel's a little different than a novel. People are torn on that. You know, like Stephen King does not do it. He just writes.
Right.
But some people need more structure. So if one way isn't working for you, try something else.
Okay. So one of the challenges I hear often is writer's block.
Oh.
Is it real? Is it not real? Am I just using it as an excuse for procrastination? What do you think about the writer's block?
I think you have to write. You even if you're sitting there and like, my juices aren't flowing today. You've got to write. Maybe what you write that day is something you're going to crumble up and throw in the trash. But you learn from what you wrote. Maybe you sparked another idea. You learned what didn't work. So sit down and I tell people that are not motivated. I did this as a trick to get to the gym. It's like I didn't want to go to the gym. I'm thinking of the whole 45 minutes to an hour at the gym, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So I told myself, you know what? I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm just going to change into my sweatpants. Okay, I got my sweatpants on. You know, I'm just going to hit the treadmill for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm going to do. And then I'd get on for 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'll do 10. And pretty soon I've gotten a whole hour workout in, and I'm feeling great. And that worked for me.
So sometimes you have to trick yourself.
Sometimes you have to trick yourself.
Or you'll do like me and just sleep in your workout clothes. And when you wake up, you're like, oh, whatever. I got my clothes on.
I got your clothes on. So
I don't know how you transfer that to writing, but
you might just, I'm not going to write. I'm just going to sit in front of the computer.
Right.
I'm going to open up my notebook. I'm just going to write a paragraph, and that's it. Yeah.
Well, you do have to trick yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things, but you have to get the book done.
You're right.
So what's the longest? Okay, so I know you get this with people. I ask people, they were like, oh, I'm working on my book, and it's almost done. And so I say, well, how long have you been working on your book?
Right.
And I get anywhere from 6 months to 12 years.
Oh, yeah. I've had someone say 30 years that they've been working on the book, and it was more of a novel that someone has been writing.
Yeah.
But I've gotten anywhere from just a few weeks where I'm cringing a little bit to 30 years. This is my life work, and handing it off to me, it's like they're handing off their firstborn. Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to take 30 years. It doesn't have to take 3 years.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
For business books, I mean, it's 6 months to a year is really what I think you should dedicate to it.
For the writing part? What about the process? What about the whole publishing process?
Well,
how much time should people
The longest
plan
thing
for?
that is going to take the most amount of time is the writing and the revision. Your first draft is not going to be
You mean
your
it's not going to be
published book.
perfect the first time?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you have your first draft and you self-edit it, and then you do maybe some beta readers, get some other feedback on it, and then once you think it's perfect, then send it off to the editor. Once you think there's no more mistakes that you can possibly have, you're perfectly fine with publishing it as is, send it to an editor.
Right, and then get your feelings hurt.
Yes.
Sorry.
Leave your ego at the door. They're there to help you.
Right, right. It's to
Yeah.
make the manuscript better.
Yeah.
You mentioned beta readers.
Mhm.
Explain what beta readers
Oh,
are
it's
and how you feel
it's
about
people
that.
who are interested in your genre or whatever you're writing about, your target market. You reach out to them and they agree to read, or you might feed them a chapter at a time. They read it and they give you your feedback. You might ask them questions. I have people that says, "Here's my chapter," but at the end of that, they say, "Well, tell me, what did you connect with the character? Did you understand what I'm trying to say?" They ask
Trigger
specific
questions.
questions.
So you can get some useful
You get some useful feedback, not
Yeah.
just, "Hey, I liked it." I
Yeah,
did
did
not
you
like
like
it.
my book or not?
Right. You need more than that. So ask specific questions. Go back and ask, what was I looking for in this piece that I
Right.
sent them? So you might not send them the whole book at a time. You might feed chapters out a little bit
Okay,
at a time
that's a good
and
idea.
get their feedback.
I tell people, don't choose family and friends.
No, your mom's always going to love your book. It's perfect.
Your beta readers, they will not give you, because they don't want to hurt your feelings,
Yeah.
right? They love you.
And the critique they gave you may be, padded a little bit.
A little
Yeah.
bit. Either that or your uncle so-and-so who's mad at you because you still owe him $50 from 12 years ago. He's going to be like, I hate this. So, you have to take it all with a grain of salt. Let's talk about ebooks.
Okay.
How are ebooks changing the
Oh my
industry?
gosh, they're huge. You can publish a book now that is not even in print. You go straight to an ebook. And they've brought the cost down on books, so people might be more willing to read a book that's not as expensive as a print one on someone they don't know. I've got like multiple ebook readers. I mean, when I first started out, there wasn't ebooks.
Right.
I had to learn how to make an ebook. It's like web code. It's so much different, but it's really revolutionized self-publishing because the cost to get into it's not as much. You don't have to have all the printed books. The cost of printing's not there.
Right.
And it does also open up some marketing opportunities. Because at the end of your ebook, you should always link to my website. Here's my other books I have written. More interaction at the end of that ebook really
Right.
opens it up.
Right. So the question that I get all the time, and I'm sure you do too, print or or both?
Both. I always say both, especially if you're doing a business book. If you're going to a speaking event and says, "Oh, great, I'd love to get a copy of your book." You
Go
can buy it on
download it.
Amazon and download it. Doesn't work. You have to have something physical, especially for business books. If and it's about 50-50. So if you're only doing ebooks, you're missing out on 50% of the opportunity.
It's a
that's on average.
distribution question, really,
Yeah.
not so much of which one is
Which one
better.
did you like better?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't like ebooks. I'm not going to publish on an ebook. I hate those I like the smell of books." It's like, that's fine, but what do your readers want to do?
Right.
Do
That's
they
a
want
good
to use
point.
an ebook?
That's a good point. Yeah. What do your readers want? How do you find that out?
I guess you gotta ask them. And look at the genre. Young adult fiction is they're more ebook friendly than the older generation that doesn't even know what an ebook is.
Right. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they're catching
They're
up.
catching up,
I
yes.
should say we're catching
Right,
up.
it's true.
Right? We're getting into it. So self-publishing, vanity press, subsidy. What's the difference? Is there a difference?
Yeah, there is, and it gets confusing, especially when you're looking on the internet, because the subsidy and vanity publishers call themselves a self-publishing company, when it comes down to technically who owns the ISBN of the book. The ISBN identifies the publisher of the book. So if your ISBN identifies a vanity or a subsidy publisher, they are the publisher of the book. And it really comes into play is how are you getting paid? If you're getting paid royalties, that is a subsidy in vanity publishing. Where self-publishing, there's no other middleman that is taking a cut of the profits. Yes, you have to pay the wholesale discount and technical things, but
Right.
there's no extra profit being taken from you. But it's more work on your end, but you get more control of your book.
Yeah.
You have more rights to your book, and you can make more money on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, how do you, people think about, I think the self-publishing industry has changed dramatically in the last decade.
Yes.
And maybe a little longer. Why and how? Let's just talk about that. How has it changed? And why
Well,
do you think so?
a lot of people used to look down on self-publishers. Vanity you're only doing this because the publishing houses, they looked at your book and they thought it was garbage, so you had to do vanity publishing. But now that it's more of a revolution, of being, hey, I'm an independent author. I
Right.
am self-published. People are being more proud of that fact. And with the ebooks, half the time you're reading ebooks out there, you might not even realize you're reading a self-published author.
Right,
I mean, chances are you are.
And we're finding a lot of previously traditional published
Yes.
authors,
They're now
some very
self-publishing.
on the celebrity
Yeah.
side have gone self with some of their books. I'm not, 100%.
Well, I've seen this, there's a lot of misconception about being traditionally published, especially when it comes to the marketing. People think if I'm going to be traditionally published.
Between the marketing and the advance,
Yeah.
people have lost.
But they say, well, I'm going to self-publish, and then I'm going to become so popular, people are going to buy so many books that a traditional publishing house is going to want to pick me up. At that point, do you need a traditional publisher?
That's a good question. Because sometimes people use self-publishing as a bridge
Yes.
to traditional publishing. And I don't disagree with that approach, especially if you want to be quick to market with your product.
Quick to market is big.
Huge, right?
Yes.
You're not going to get quick to market with traditional. And, maybe you do want the celebrityism of it or the distribution opportunities with traditional publishing. But yeah, by the time you self-publish and you've made a success of yourself, you almost
might need it.
wonder.
It's also a matter of control. Traditional publishing houses, they have a lot of control about how the book cover is going to look, how the interior is going to look. They have a lot of control over that.
Even
most
the
of the
content,
times.
even
the
the
content.
story
They might want you to edit it.
Right.
I was, one of my favorite authors I was reading, she is traditionally published, but she was ranting a little bit about being published and the cover design. They told her that, hey, you have to put a sword on your cover because we found that books in this genre sell better if you have a sword. She's like, but there's no sword in my book.
Wow.
Well, there is now.
Write it in.
Write it in so we can put it on the cover.
Interesting.
That might not be the case all the time, but you do lose
well,
some control.
that brings to mind an author that I talked to recently who published a novel, and she ran into the issue of she was shopping it to a very prominent publisher, and they wanted her to write out a character. Just take this character out completely.
Oh, wow.
And it was like stabbing her in
That's
the
my
chest.
character. You're killing it.
She's essential to the storyline,
wow.
and they're like, well, just redo the storyline. And she decided not to go with that publisher and self-publish instead.
Yeah. It is, you do have to give up a lot of control. So a
Right.
lot of people do self-publish for the control. They control what the story is, what the cover is, what the price is, what market you're going to reach to, the distribution. It's all under your control.
Right. And then also, what's under your control is what happens with the book, the content afterwards.
Yes.
Right? Sort of that extension of the book itself. You have rights to do whatever you want to
If
do
you want to do
with
a
it.
movie, you've got the movie rights, you've got
you
plays.
know, whatever you want to do.
Yes.
Plush toys, if you've created a
I've
children's
had someone
book.
do that,
Right,
yes.
right. So there's
The
some
merchandising.
Absolutely, absolutely. So those are all wonderful options if you self-publish that you maintain the right to control.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome, and we've got a lot more to talk about because Kimberly actually has a new book coming out.
Yes, working on it.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
What happens when soldiers come home? Brene Foundation offers hero support to ensure that our heroes abroad can continue to be heroes at home. We link veterans with organizations who are dedicated to guiding the transition from military hero to civilian hero. If you want to find out how you can support our troops at home, please contact the Brene Foundation or visit brene.com.
Does your son need a more challenging, focused, and encouraging educational environment? Renaissance Christian Academy is an affordable private school for boys located in McDonough, Georgia, with certified teachers that are uniquely equipped to help your son master learning. You're welcome to schedule a tour of our facilities by calling 770-305-9881 or by visiting our website at rcaboysacademy.org. Renaissance Christian Academy, developing young men to be great leaders through Christ-centered learning.
Welcome back to Book Your Success. I am your host, Anita Paul with WriteYourLife.net, and I am in the studio with Kimberly Martin. She is CEO and book genius with Jera. Did I pronounce that
Jera.
right? Jera Publishing, and she is a publishing maven. So happy to have her in the studio today. We're talking shop, we're talking publishing and book marketing and all that fun stuff. But before we get back into our conversation, I want to let you know again about our sponsor for the show today, Visual Marketing Mentors. For all of your trade show, exhibit, conference, convention, the whole 9 yards needs, when you want to look great and look phenomenal, be sure to get in touch with visualmarketingmentors.com. They are awesome. So Kimberly, marketing.
No,
Marketing is the thing it seems that authors
hate.
They hate it and they don't think about it until like they get the book in their
Yes.
hand. When should you start thinking about marketing?
To be safe, a year
A year before your book is in your hand.
before the book. I mean, as soon as you start thinking, I'm going to write a book, start thinking, I'm going to market my book.
So what's step one in the marketing process?
You got to know your target. Who is interested in buying your book? Not who you think should be reading your book, but who is most likely to be reading your book? Because you want to narrow your focus. You can't just.
You mean like everybody?
Everybody's
is
not
a
an
good target
answer.
audience? Oh,
Yeah.
darn.
You
Okay.
think everybody should read my book? That's great, but where are you going to spend your money?
Exactly.
So you need to figure out what segment of everybody is you should be spending your money or your attention at.
Because
if
you have limited
Yeah.
time and limited marketing dollars. I don't care who you are. Yeah.
Yeah. So start, figuring that out and narrowing down, who they are, where they live, where do they shop, what blogs do they visit, do they have any local communities, clubs they belong
Right.
to? Start really sorting out who they are.
Okay. So how do you do that? Ask.
Ask. And if you're looking for, I have a little trick that I tell people, like if you're looking for just general demographics, age, income, where they live, go down to the bookstore and look at some magazines and pick a magazine that you think that is, people that read this magazine are going to be interested in my book. Look at their advertising section because they're going to tell you what their demographics are for advertisers. That's a little bit of a,
That is a
heads
nice
up.
little inside
So
trick, yeah.
it's a little trick, but really it's, you have to ask, you have to know. I mean, some people say know your target market before you write the book.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so that might be your first step.
And what I tell, especially for business books, is that probably your target market is just like you.
Yeah.
You
For
know,
business books, yes.
For business books, yeah. You're writing it for people like you. It's coming from you. It's targeting the people that you do business with or you want to do business with or who are interested in whatever your knowledge points are. So they're just like you. Don't make it complicated. It's not that serious. So once I figure out who my target audience is, then what's the next step in the marketing process?
You started kind of what they talk about, building your platform. Go create a website if you don't have one already. Get a blog going. Start writing about things your target market would be interested in. It doesn't have to be all about your book. It could
Now
be,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Don't leave that without. Let's have a conversation about that, because oftentimes in social media and even on a blog, we get very into ourselves.
Yes.
And that's kind of what social media is all about. It's very narcissistic. However, when you are wanting to market your product, your book, your message, you want to make it be more inclusive and timely and trending, so to speak. So what do you say? Find some articles that relate to...
Yes, you want to write, you can write articles and put them on your own blog that are in the same topic as your book, but not your book.
Right.
You can find other articles and link to them. Say, hey, and write a little comment about it. You can find things going on in the news that you can relate to. And another thing that works is find other authors in your same genre that you respect and do reviews on their books.
Right.
Talk about their books, because you know what? Someone who's interested in their book might be interested in yours. So if they're Googling for that book and they find your review and then they see off the sidebar, hey, she's got a book, that's a good bring in for you.
Right. I think that, especially here in Atlanta, and I'm sure it's the same in other cities, we have a really good, I think, writing community.
Oh, we do. It's very large.
Yeah, it's very large, and I think it's very supportive of different genres. What's your thought about critique groups?
That's a can of worms. Yes, they are good. Yes, you should go. You should go to writing groups, but take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Because some people might just be there, they don't like anything. They're going to critique everything. And the end result is take what you can from it, that you might agree with or might, you
Right.
know, I
Could be
maybe they got a
useful.
point, could be useful, and just throw away the rest.
Yeah.
And just don't listen to some of it because,
Yeah. Some people have been at it for a long time,
Mhm.
and they're bitter about that.
yeah,
Right? They haven't gotten
don't like
the book
anything.
deal that they've been wanting for the last 15 years, or they didn't get a good critique or a good review for their
Right.
book, so they're just
you know,
hell bent on
small groups are, you know, start going to some, and then often what happens is little groups will break off.
Mhm.
You might find a group of people that really do work well together, and it motivates you
Right.
to, you know, you come to these groups and you have to have the next section written, and you might get some feedback, but in the end, it's your book,
Mhm.
and as long as you're happy with it,
Right. That's what
Yeah.
matters.
yeah.
Yeah. But value input, value trusted.
And go with an open mind
input.
too. Listen to what they have to say,
Right.
and be, you know, you can't go in with it with a closed mind, saying my book is perfect.
Yeah, my book. Then why do you
Why are
go?
you going?
Yeah, exactly. So you teach classes.
Yes.
On probably everything in the publishing.
Yeah,
industry.
anything
Tell
that
us what
related
those.
to writing or self-publishing. I even do like social events. So I have an author of social and pizza on, you know, kind of for local
Cool.
authors to come. My editor hosts a writing workshop every month, and then I'll usually once a month throw in some type of a class about things related to self-publishing. A lot of it comes down to marketing. People want to know about marketing or ebooks. Like I actually have a webinar tomorrow, you know, that is about ebooks.
Okay.
So, all the time I'm throwing up different classes.
Yeah, people. Now, even though self-publishing, yeah, is gaining a lot of popularity, and thank goodness building a better reputation for itself. I think there's still a lot that authors don't know.
It is, and that's one of the things that people look down on self-publishing because they go and they get these self-published books and they haven't been edited, they have a horrible cover, they look miserable, and it's tough because then they think
stop
all
doing that,
self-published.
you
Yeah,
guys.
stop
Stop
doing
doing
that. You know, my boyfriend reads a lot of self-published books, and he had a book a print version that he brought home, and he was mumbling about it the whole time and grumbling about it. I'm like, what's wrong? And he finished it and he showed me. He's like, look, I liked the story. I liked what he had to say. He's got 3 more books in the series, but I don't plan on buying any of them.
Was it a novel?
It was a novel,
Okay.
and the formatting was just wrong. And he said it was painful to read, and even though he was intrigued by the story, he wasn't going to buy any more because he just had so much difficulty
That's
reading
tough.
it. You
That's
know.
tough. And I think there's a lot of readers who really gravitate to self-published books.
That is true.
They like the stories. They know they are unique. They're not as commercialized as some of the other
same
books.
old plot line. Yeah.
But they will. The very first thing you hear from readers about self-published books is the lack of
the editing.
editing. And yeah, the book cover looks crappy.
right.
So just
Yeah.
like you said in the beginning, those 2 things
Are very
focus
important.
on.
And then the design of the interior probably comes next.
Yeah. And you're right. There are some intricacies about layout that
Mhm.
you may not know as an author. You don't have to know those things. You don't have to be an expert. That's why we
Yeah.
have Kimberly.
Exactly. But, you know, like you said, there's some people on a budget that they're like, that's where I can cut the money. I can do it myself.
Right.
And sometimes I'm like, just stop. Just
Yeah.
stop.
So budget-wise, people, I know you get this question.
Yeah.
How much should I invest in my book project?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Really depend. You know, what type of book is it? Novels are less expensive to do than a business book. It really comes down to. A novel's easy to format. I'll be honest. You know, that's quick and easy.
Right, you
You've
don't
got a chapter
have
title,
the
and you got the
images
paragraph.
and the
You don't
stuff
have
in
images.
there,
You don't
yeah.
have tables. You don't have charts. So it really varies. I've seen anywhere from $1,000 to, if you're really going with the editing, that's the most expensive part as well. To $4,000 or $5,000 I've seen.
Yeah.
But you could do novel, just the basic without the editing for a few $100s.
But don't do that.
But don't do that. Have it edited.
Yeah,
Even
absolutely.
if you know someone who's an English professor who's going to take a look at it for you, have it edited.
Right.
Um,
What are some funding options? I'm kind of getting into the options for authors in terms of how
Right.
they can fund their book projects.
It's easier with business books again because you can possibly. I've seen people go into collaborations where they get a bunch of different business people together
Right.
and they each write a chapter and they fund it that way. I've seen people do Kickstarter campaigns
Right.
to do crowdsourcing of they talk about a book they want to write and then they get a little bit of money into it. You might put some advertising into the back of the book if it's a business book and bring in some money that way. But a lot of times you just got to reach into your own pocket.
Reach into your and save up for it, right?
Yeah, save up for credit
Sometimes
cards.
you just need to know how much it costs,
Yeah.
and you can work towards
But don't
that.
break the bank.
Yeah.
I've seen some people spend so much money on things, and I'm just cringing. And one of the things you can spend less money on now is the printing. You don't have to do offset printing anymore. You don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get 500 copies of your
Right.
book. You can do print on demand.
Absolutely.
And cut some of your initial expenses that way.
What do you recommend for authors who do print on demand? How many books should they print initially?
To keep in stock?
Yeah.
Depends on if you're doing speaking groups or not,
Of
but
course.
you always have 10 on hand. And then if you're going to do a group or something like that, you need more. I had one of my authors ran out of her books, and she called me up and says, "Do you have that book I gave you? Is it signed? Can I get that back?"
Oh,
You know,
she wanted your one book that
she wanted
gave-
my
oh
one
my
book back. But then, like, you signed it. It's like, oh shoot.
To me.
So you always have copies on hand.
Yeah.
You hand them out, bring them with you, put them in your bag, keep them in your car. You never know when you're getting into conversation with
And
somebody.
I tell people all the time, even Pam Alexander knows that, right, Pam? The producer of the show, she knows that. I always tell people, don't you dare get caught.
In the trunk.
In the
Always,
trunk.
yeah.
You got. I know it sounds really guerrilla marketing, but
You've
you
gotta
got to
have
do
it.
it. You absolutely have to do it. You have a new book coming out. Tell us
Yes.
about your book. It is called Book Design. You're doing it wrong.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
And like I said, I often get, since we do things a la carte, some people just want us to do the cover, so they'll send us the interior to do. And I'm looking at this and going, you sure you want to publish it like this? There's lots of things about book design that people don't understand. They just don't know. They may be like, I know how to do an interior. I've looked through books many times. But there's little subtle things that people in the industry, one, they know. And even your reader might not know, but it's subconscious.
They'll notice it.
They'll notice that there's something not quite right. Maybe they're
Right.
having trouble reading it. Maybe it just doesn't look as professional as that other, best-selling novel they've read. Things such as blank pages shouldn't have page numbers on them, or headers, or you shouldn't use Times New Roman or Comic Sans. What font size should be used, and what about hyphenation or justification? There's all these little nuances that aren't hard to fix on your own if you know about them. So this book is really showing, that goes through like paragraphs, and it mentions there's 10 points it covers that are things that are easily fixed if you're doing something like in Word. So it's a chance for those on a budget who just have to do the design on their own to take a look at this book and say, before I hit that publish button, let me compare what they're showing me. And it's a visual book, so it's going to show you a screenshot of
should
an
look
image of what is wrong,
Okay.
and then show an image of what it should
What
be,
not
right?
to do and what to do.
What to do, and it'll also show you steps on how to correct it.
Fantastic.
So I'm giving away some knowledge there, but it is my goal that there'll be the self-published books that go out will look better, and self-publishers will now have a better reputation.
Yay, we're all
So,
for that. I
yeah.
think you're right. And when's the book going to be available?
By the end of the year.
Excellent.
yeah.
And how can people order it, and how can we get in touch with
It'll
you?
be on Amazon, and I'm looking at an ebook and a print version, or you can get it through the website at jerapublishing.com. It'll be available there as well.
Okay, and it's Jera, Jera,
Yes.
publishing.com, and we are very happy to have had Kimberly Martin in the studio with us today.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you, and thanks so much for watching Book Your Success, and we will see you all next time.
Thank you for joining us. Today's show can be viewed again in archives on our website at www.bizlinks.tv. If you are an entrepreneur and would like to appear on the program to discuss your book and share how you utilize it to enhance your business platform, submit an inquiry to Book Your Success at bizlinks.tv. In addition, information on advertising and hosting your own show can be found on our website at www.bizlinks.tv.